The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. This is Jim Kaiser with the Weather Service office in Grand Forks with our daily flood brief. Looks like there's quite a few less people on the call this morning, so we'll keep it short and sweet. I know people have stuff they got to do, being a weekend and whatnot. Once again, we'll kind of review how much precipitation occurred with this storm system that occurred Thursday into Friday. Seems like it was a good inch and a half right down the valley into northwest Minnesota. Most of that was snow melt, or was snow, and we have to wait for it to melt to get into the river system. Did see a little bit of rain before the system came in with the cold air, and then a little bit of mixed precip type, southern valley stretching to the east. One interesting thing to note with this system, we use this false color curve in our weather system here, and you can see the red is the snow cover. This is a satellite image. Red is the snow cover. You can see this dark red area here that stretches down from Lake of the Woods through the Red Lakes. This was where we saw less snow and predominantly freezing rain, sleet with this last system. And then areas where you see the red is the snow cover. We can see the breakout flows and the more widespread flooding just northwest of Fargo, where the Maple and the Cheyenne and the red start to pool up there outside of Harwood. We can also see breakout flows on the Wild Rice from Ada down towards the red at Hendrum. Also see some of the breakout flows in the northern basin, the lake around Oslo starting to form. So even though the snow was not welcome for most of us, it allows us to kind of see where our flooding impacts are occurring a little easier. Getting back into the forecast, next 2 days relatively quiet. Some light rain showers are possible, and when we say light, we're looking at less than a tenth of an inch or so here in our 2-day forecast as we get a little bit of warm air advection precipitation, some showers, maybe some little bit of snow across the further north part of the valley. Temperature wise, stay pretty well below freezing today. Don't see a lot of responses in the river systems today. We do warm up a little bit more tomorrow. Should start to see that warm up occur. River responses start to occur, especially in the south, Sunday afternoon into the early part of next week. And with those responses, will be very dependent on how quick that snow melts. It does look like we're going to stay above freezing with our lows starting Sunday night into Monday morning across the far southern portions of the valley. Here we have our low temperatures, above freezing for, say, Holsted south. And then we look at a little bit more of a rain chance on Monday night into Tuesday morning. That's not yet included in the forecast. We got 48 hours in the forecast. This will be included in tomorrow's forecast. Looks like some of this rain could be thunderstorms. Doesn't look like it's going to be a widespread area, but anywhere we do get any of that thunderstorm activity or stronger rainfall rates, that would lead to more rapid runoff. So that's something we're going to watch over the next 24 to 48 hours. The placement of where the most likely area of thunderstorm activity would be and how that would cause river levels to rise. As for the forecasts, there hasn't been a lot of changes in any of the forecasts for the river levels. Here's our forecasted river levels for the next 7 days. Again, we're still looking at major flooding from the backwater in that Harwood and West Fargo area as the Maple and the Cheyenne and the Red all cause some overland flooding with this next round of snow melt as it gets into the system. So we see that initial fall of activity due to our cold temperatures, and then another re-rise as we do melt the snow. Looks like the Harwood and both the West Fargo area is going to be rising above major flood stage as we move on into next week. Releases from Bald Hill are still right on track with what we've been projecting, causing river levels to rise so that just below minor flood stage. And these are going to be very dependent on what type of precipitation we get outside of the next 3 to 4 days. We know we're very wet. We know we have the system being very susceptible to any future precipitation as we go through April. So, of course, these forecasts can change. As we move down the Cheyenne, we have the rise there at Lisbon and a long rise and prolonged crest towards Kindred. Moving up the red, we have the backwater issues at Hendrum and Climax and Shelley. At Halstead, we're kind of seeing that initial first snowmelt crest today or for the weekend, and then we're going to see that re-rise. Looks like, depending on our melt rate scenario, that re-rise should be a little less than this initial in that 7 to 10 day time frame. As we move up the main stem red, Grand Forks looks to reach major flood stage, 46 or so feet on tomorrow afternoon sometime, and then we're going to see the river hover around that 46-foot level for much of the week. Same thing's occurring there at Oslo. We're climbing towards 37 feet, and we're going to see that level persist for much of the week. As we make our way up into the Drayton and the Pembina gauges, the Northern Valley, we've seen the initial rise slow and taper, very similar to last year's melt, where we had the snow melt reach into the system and then we cooled off, causing a slower rate of rise there. Still expecting the Drayton and the Pembina river levels to reach right near major flood stage. Still looking like that's going to be at least 10 to 14 days out in that mid-April time frame. Re-rises on the Minnesota tribs, it's going to be very highly dependent on our temperature regime and how this snow melts. If it stays gradual, like it looks like it's going to, with a cooler than normal temperature pattern setting up, we should see our crests lower than the initial crest we had over the last few days. So a secondary rise outside of the 7-day window, temperature-wise, will be dependent. Should be lower than this initial rise we saw at Halleck and at Alvarado. I think I've covered all the places that usually get questions. There's the secondary rise at Crookston, going to be very similar to the initial rise we saw over the last couple days. Still having some ice in the Red Lake system, as we've seen on satellite this morning. So I'm going to deal with a little bit of ice still in the Red Lake River system. That initial or that secondary crest should match the initial crest very similarly based on how much snow melt we have in the system. Let's see if there's any questions this morning. I do not see any questions. Let's see if we got any hands raised. No hands raised. I do appreciate, we just got the data in for the Fargo gauge. Looks like it came in here in the last hour, so we're going to send a new forecast out to match the currents there. Doesn't change the overall expectation there at Fargo, with the re-rise highly dependent on snowmelt and future rain events, just like every other point in the Southern Basin. Here I got a question. Let's see. Since Wednesday, we've been keeping crest at Harwood, slowly creeping up. Do we see this holding at 91.2 or going up even higher? I'm going to see if I can get Justin to be on the call, since he's the one that's running the forecasts. Justin, are you able to speak here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Jason, can you hear Justin? Let's just assume Jason can hear Justin. Yeah, he can.
Okay. Question was about Harwood.
Yeah, so Harwood's been creeping up. Initially it was 90.5, then 91.1, now 91.2. Do we see it holding around 91.2, or do we see it going up yet higher?
Yeah, let me pull it up here for a sec. So 91.2 is where I've got it cresting. You know, there's a lot of variability in there. A lot of that's kind of driven by the Maple River, and it's possible that snow is a little bit high in the upper end of that. So yeah, 91.2. I'm not going to go any higher than that right now.
Hopefully that answers your question, Jason. Thank you, Justin. All right, so we'll chat again tomorrow, and we'll have a forecast that includes the thunderstorm chances Monday night into Tuesday morning across the Southern Valley. We'll see what or how much QPF. Right now, it looks like we're just painting a quarter to half an inch in that upper Buffalo Basin area, maybe impacting the Hawley, Dilworth area. But if that placement changes, different other rivers could be impacted. Thank you once again. Hydro Sit Rep will get sent out. I believe it has been sent. So if you got any questions, go ahead and email or call the office.